Hello, my name is Jessica. I'm a freelance illustrator and art instructor living and working in Huntsville, Alabama. In partnership with North Alabama's Arts Education Collaborative, I'm bringing you a series of videos all about the elements of art. All you need is just some supplies that you can find more than likely in your house, or at your local convenience store. So come along and we will learn a little bit about each of these elements of art, and it will strengthen your drawing skills. Our first lesson is going to be about line. Do you know how important line is to drawing? Let's think about a shape. Let's take a square. Can you make a square without a line? You can't, can you? It takes 4 lines in order to make a square. Line is the first of the 7 elements of art. Line is very much the most important of all of the elements of art. Line helps you take what's in your head and to put it down on paper. Lines define objects, such as this cup. You can see that the cup is defined by lines. Without the lines, there would be no cup. Lines define this pencil. In fact, we're going to use this pencil to create our lines, but lines are defining the edges of this pencil. Lines define the edges of the paper we're going to be drawing on. Lines define the chair we're sitting on and the table we're working on. Lines define all objects, and that's what makes it the most important. So let's go ahead, get our supplies ready, and we're going to start working on our project. What you'll need is, of course, like I said, a pencil, something to color with. It could be crayons, it could be colored pencils, or it could be markers. It's whatever you have that you can color with so that we can make our drawing bright and fun. But what you're also going to need is just simply a piece of computer paper, like what I have here. And you will also need your hands. All right, now that you have your supplies ready, let's go switch over to a different camera and start looking at our new project. So lines, they can go up or down, which is called a vertical line. They can go side to side, which is called a horizontal line. They can go diagonal, meaning the line is at an angle, like this, or like this. Lines can also be curved. Now, of course, we have straight lines, which you see here in the vertical and the horizontal lines. You can have thick lines, or you can have really thin lines. You can have long lines, short lines, shaky lines, zigzag lines, and almost any other line that you can think of. But lines, they also express emotion. Let's think about how a happy line looks. Let's think about how a sad line looks. How would you do an angry line? This is how I do an angry line. Notice how I put so much more pressure on my line there. What if I wanted to do a strong line? Do you ever feel confused? Confused lines, I think they look something like this. They are all over the place. And what about a weak line? I think a weak line is broken. Strong lines, they are continuous. We want to use line to make shapes and patterns. Remember, it's 4 lines that make a square. It's 3 lines that make a triangle. It's 4 lines that make a rectangle. And it's 1 line that makes a circle or an oval. Now, we are going to make some patterns using the lines that we know. We could make just a pattern of vertical lines, a pattern of horizontal lines, alternating thin and thick lines, we have zigzag lines. We can make them into a pattern. We could do wavy lines. We can work with some curves. See how these are going from smaller to bigger as they stack on top of each other? We can have our pattern come from one point. We could put lines within our pattern here. Then it starts to look a little bit like spider's web. We can really curve our lines. These are fun. We can make dashes. We can alternate our patterns. And remember, you can always color your patterns too. We could start with a shape. We have a rectangle, and we can expand that rectangle out. We can make a pattern of circles. We can make an alternating pattern of big and small circles. There's so many things that we can do. What kind of patterns do you think you can come up with? They can be wild and crazy, and you can use all of your colors in them. Now that you know all about lines and you know how to create patterns, it's time for our project. You'll be taking a piece of paper and you're going to hold it vertically. Remember, that means up and down. Take your hand and you're going to place it on the paper. What you're going to do is trace your hand with a pencil. You want to make sure you use a pencil because it has an eraser. You can only erase something when it's in pencil. Once you start to color this, you can't go back. Like, see here? I'm going to erase the bump that's on my finger from the ring that I was wearing. And I could only do that if I was working with a pencil. Now, what I'm going to do is make different sections on my hand, like this. And in those different sections that I make, I'm going to draw patterns. And I'm going to color those patterns in with whatever coloring material I have, whether it's markers, or it's colored pencils, or it's crayons. Now that I have the sections of my hand all drawn in, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to color this. Make sure you check back for more videos on the elements of art. I look forward to working with you, and you guys have fun with your project.